Hi, this
Hi.
is I'm here with Prongs Chapa, who is the mastermind behind the upcoming performance of Life Force Ensemble, which is Mask of the Sun King, which will be on Monday, February 8th from 7 to 9 p.m. via Zoom. So anyone who's interested in that, let me know. But I have so many questions for Prongs right now. So
I
I'm first
have
one.
so many answers.
I'm so excited. Okay, so I asked you the question right before we started. I'm going to ask again, which is, where did the idea of the mask come from?
I mean, it came from several different sources. I mean, there's obviously the pieces that are the masks in the exhibit. Kind of from my personal experiences, I actually took a course about shamanism in college. And one of the things was that there are different spiritual practices where the priest or the healer will put on a mask to channel a spirit. And there was kind of this extrapolation in the different like anthropological work studying that, where people seem to feel freer doing things that they want to do when they're wearing a mask than when people know who they are outright. Even if they're surrounded by people who do know who they are, just by wearing the mask, they feel freer. So that was something that I really thought worked well with the soul's true self and the soul's essence.
Cool. I got a question like this. So I've had experiences with that actually through playing online video games where like I was addicted to Final Fantasy 11 back in the day. So it was hiding behind this I don't know, tall beastly warrior lady, I was able to be much more true to my personality than I ever had been in real life before that.
Mm-hmm.
You have other experiences of that, like in real life?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, actually, like very similarly, video games and like role playing games, especially, you get to explore parts of yourself that um, you don't get to express usually. So if you're playing a character who is beautiful, then you get to be very seductive. Whereas like there may be limitations like in the real world to what that is. So currently I'm actually playing Baldur's Gate 3, like not at this moment, but like in general. And it's been really cool. I mean, I'm getting to explore like that adventurous side that right now we can't really do adventures because of the pandemic. So getting to have that experience. But I also feel like there's an inverse sometimes. Sometimes I think that through role-playing games, we can also see some of the darker sides of people, which is important as well.
Yeah, it's nice to see the darker sides and like a little bit of a safer environment where no one's actually going to punch you in the face.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
So, and I've been wanting to ask this question for years of someone at Life Force, and you seem to be the perfect person for this question, which is, do you find connections between video games and shamanism?
Yeah, definitely. I think video games like to source a lot of stuff from different religious and spiritual practices. So, I mean, even the idea of mana is misappropriated from Polynesian spiritual beliefs. So, there's also things like these big religious organizations that are trying to control the world, and you can see like you can see the connections to the different like major world religions. And then having to save like forest spirits. I think it kind of can force people to interact with more of like even nature spirits and things like that. And then you can kind of see the connections when you're writing something like one of the performances, and sometimes I do get inspiration from like different things that I'm reading or playing, and like making those connections as well.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a way that a lot of these old beliefs, like I swear I learned all of my mythology from playing freaking Final Fantasy in the 90s. Like it was like an escape from like growing up in a place where any kind of non-traditional or non-Christian belief was really frowned upon.
Mhm.
And just seeing like that, just learning pieces of that history from so many places in the world. So, can you tell me regarding Mask of the Sun King, the story itself? You touched upon it a little bit,
Mhm.
but where you got the idea from the class that you took. But what about the Sun King? Where did the Sun King come from?
Honestly, I have been trying to get a performance where we sing Here Comes the Sun King for a couple years now. So that was part of it, to be honest. I was just like, I really think that singing Here Comes the Sun King is like a great idea for performance. Um, it hasn't happened because it's not actually like a very serious song, but and there's like fake Italian in it, and that's, it doesn't really have a lot of meaning, which in some ways can be like spiritual, but that's kind of part of when I was trying to think about, like, I know these two sun masks want to become something. So, and then that song just started playing in my head, and I was like, okay, all right, Sun King. Um, and I was really going to take it in more of a light-hearted kind of direction at first, and then I think as I talked to Joan over like months and months, it kind of went into the direction of like underworld suns and overworld suns and the connection between like the upper and lower worlds.
Mm-hmm. I kind of want to bring that song back. We do it on Monday. I don't know if that will be possible, but now that you're bringing it up, I'm like, I feel like we got to make it reality.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, just there's something about the Sun King. It's just, I think it's a phrase that just really caught my head.
Very cool. Um, you have written like a lot of the main texts of the performances for Life Force Ensemble. All of them or a lot of them?
A lot of them. There has been at least one written by Joan. I think she's currently working on the
Yeah,
main text
she is.
for the next performance that we're doing, the next new one we're debuting. Some have been written by Lorraine Moretti, who actually um, created it's now called the Sun Priestess mask, but used to be Sun King mask, or Sun mask. Um, Sorry, it's a Sun mask. And she's written a couple. Then let me see. We've had a few one-offs. Mary Burton wrote one, which was the Shani Devi one. Um, and I believe Sharon Bechtold wrote Desert Medicine. Desert Medicine. So we've had a few here and there. I think the Psyche and Eros ones were also all written by Joan.
Okay. Well, I have like missed a lot of these performances since I just came in like pretty recently. But what if like when you are writing one of these main texts, like how does the process go of writing it?
There's a lot of research that I try to do at first just to get into who wants to talk. I'm very like deity focused, and that's honestly just, it's something that fascinates me. So I'm always like looking up different gods. And that's the center point of like my spiritual magical practice. So it's just how I'm oriented. But so I started just like looking up different things. So I started looking up sun gods for Mask of the Sun King. And then I kind of had the feeling that I wanted to go in more of an ancestral direction. I was raised in a Mexican family, so I kind of started looking more of the Mexica or Nahuatl deities, which a lot of people call Aztec, which is kind of like a misnomer. It's an exonym, I think. So yeah, I just wanted to like look into that, and I found this story of someone going into the underworld and meeting the Lord of the Underworld, Mictlantecutli, and Mictlantecutli removing his mask to reveal that he was actually the sun god, Tonatiuh. And then there was this idea of this, what Westerners originally thought was this both gender and non-gender deity called Ometeotla. And then actually what we're finding now is that Ometeotla, this original one god, is the sun king, Tonatiuh, as well as Mictlantecutli. So I kind of put those together, and that's when I started feeling like they should be the centerpieces of the text.
It's one God with like two kind of ways of being.
Yeah. A light and a dark.
Very cool. A question about, because you were able to come up with these stories and these gods and goddesses just like on the fly out of the blue. Is that, how does that happen?
Wikipedia.
Okay.
Wikipedia is the backbone of my life. It's much more reliable than your teachers told you in school. But I actually I have a lot of people that I know as well who have a lot of background knowledge. So in books, I have a bunch of books from the Archpriestess Hierophant of Chicago, FOI, Demetria Nano. So I have like part of her library with me that I have to return. And so I just read a lot, but it's a lot of it's Wikipedia.
Okay.
The power of the internet.
Yeah, definitely is. It's a godsend. I'm like blanking on everything right now. But I'm gonna ask
yeah,
you.
and sometimes I will do further research. I'll look for like academic books, like on Google Scholar and stuff like that. So like this idea with Descent of the Goddess, which we did, I believe, last year, around Samhain, I think just before. I found this idea of Bladaiwedd being related to the Isle of the Dead and the Nine Morrigans, and I was never actually able to get to the end of that tunnel of research, but I had to go through a lot of hours of just like not just reading the first page of Google, actually clicking page 2, which almost never happens.
That is hardcore. Have you found any miraculous revelations during a performance?
Probably. I have like the short-term memory of a goldfish, but there's definitely been some really interesting things that have come up. Just even like the desire to want to do a performance based on Mexica deities came from like a previous performance where I just felt like all of these ancestral entities were around, and that kind of made me want to go in that direction.
Okay. And for you, like, what is the best part of being like involved with Life Force or being in the performances, things like that?
I mean, this is what I like want to do with myself. This is the path that I've wanted to take like my entire life, is kind of like acting and writing and performing, and I'm even learning how to play like the bowls, and I'm singing more, which I usually I used to never sing. I haven't done any of the dancing in the performances, but I'm getting more into the other performance aspect because this is like the one space right now that I can do what I've kind of dreamt of doing since I was a little kid. And I feel like society always tells us like, I used to do like a desk job, 9 to 5, that kind of a thing. And I'm just trying. So this is like the outlet that I have at the moment. And, you know, I want to manifest doing more of that. But at this time, it's the outlet that I have. And I really love doing it.
That's very awesome. Like I feel like I have very similar, like, because for me growing up, it's like, I don't know how you reconcile being into like, I was really like dancing, being into all the like fairy tales. Like when I was like 15, it's like my little sisters were watching the horror movies and I was watching the Disney princesses. It's like just having these archetypal, I've always been connected to the archetypal stories, and between that, the dance, the energy work, well, how do I never thought about there being a place where you could just do all of that, like where every part of like my weird quirkiness is just kind of all came together in like what Life Force is doing, and like the crazy modern dance part is always the fun thing for me too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's I have a really similar experience. It's just how do you put all of that stuff together and find a place to do it that is, you know, accepting and open to different paths and different experiences, and letting it all kind of like conglomerate together.
Yeah. So I got a question, because if we're going to be doing a lot more of these performances, do you think that the ensemble might take a different direction, or like different ways of evolving the way that we do that we perform?
We've already evolved in some ways. When the ensemble, well, this incarnation of the ensemble, because there's been multiple incarnations of the Life Force Ensemble, Life Force Arts Ensemble. This one started with just Joan and a woman named Kristen Ray. And she committed to doing, I think, 2 years of performances with Joan. And they started with the snake medicine a few years ago. And now, then that's when I joined in the middle of that. So right after snake medicine, I did the invocation for Tonan Scene, and then started doing more of the narrating work. And that was just the two of them. Then they added Lorraine Moretti to do some of the invocations, and myself as well to do the narrating. And we kind of started building on that. So before, there wasn't really a story aspect, and then the story aspect got added, and there was an invocation aspect that also got added as well. And then the members have shifted. So Kristen is no longer with us in the ensemble. She's alive, but she's not in the ensemble. And we have a bunch of new people like you and Shan and James Cornolo. But James used to be in one of the previous incarnations of the Life Force Ensemble. So there's always going to be some growth. I think with the healing arts intensives too, we moved away from doing the featured art poem and now highlighting art intensive writings and doing more freestyle singing.
I think it's really interesting how when there are two different performances from the same healing arts intensive, like the 2 times that we did Masks of the Sun King previously were just completely different performances, just because of the different energy and the different writing that the participants brought to it. Yeah. It'll be interesting to do this one, like where there's no healing arts intensive attached to it. Is like anyone can come. We don't know. We don't know what you guys are going to bring with your experience. What do you think? What do you think might happen?
Well, that's how it. The healing art intensives are again one of those like evolutions. We didn't always have them with the performances, so Yeah, it could vary a lot. I remember when I wrote Rainbow Messengers and we were rehearsing for that one, an eagle spirit kept coming up. And Joan kept transforming into this eagle spirit. And then when we did the actual Rainbow Messengers performance, I don't even think a bird spirit at all showed up. It was completely different energy. Whoever comes, we usually, or Joan usually says this, and I agree with her, that whoever is meant to come will, and whoever isn't meant to come won't. And the spirits and the energy that is part of the performance is there for the people who are meant to be there. So there can be times when you're rehearsing these performances where the energy that's coming through is meant for us as the ensemble members. And then all of a sudden we're performing and there's a totally different audience and just completely different guides will come through.
Mhm. Yeah, I think I've definitely had that experience as well. So Mask of the Sun King is happening Monday, February 6th, no, February 8th, geez. February 8th from 7 to 9 p.m. $30 for admission. I will drop the link in the comments. Do you have any parting thoughts for the universe?
Yeah, I think that Mask of the Sun King is a really interesting performance that people should consider taking just to realign themselves with their inner higher power, their inner true soul's essence, and their true self. And there's a lot of play in the text itself with duality of being, not just with upper and lower, but we bring in Ra, who has a masculine and feminine aspect.
Mhm.
And then just kind of putting that all together. And it's all about uniting the different parts of you that usually you may keep separate, keep hidden, and just putting on the mask and letting it out.
Mhm. Yeah, I like the aspect because it's kind of like the light side and the dark side are both welcome. Masculine and feminine are both welcome. Like both sides of you, like the side that you present to the world and the side that you hide from the world. They're all like
Yeah.
free to come out here. And I just love, especially like with the music that you guys make with you, Joan, and like James and Cheyenne, especially like it's also great with Natalia and Kristen when she was here too. Like it's like every different cast brings something so different to the performance.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, your style of dancing is evocative and Natalia's is as well, but there's two completely different styles of dancing. So the performance is never the same twice, and that's sometimes because we have different ensemble members in them. And that's the way it's meant to be.
Right. Very cool. So yeah, hoping to see a lot of you there on Monday night. And yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks, Prongs, for doing this on the short notice.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Yay. Okay. Good night, everyone.
Bye.